Is it golf?
No, it's genetics, I believe.
He's the chosen one. Go back and look at his expression before he answers. No, he knows it. God says in the Bible, this goes back to the whole, everybody that wants to say that, oh, God knew you before you were born. Those are talking about specific kings and specific prophets. Like King David was one of the people that, oh, you knew me before I was born, because he consecrated him before meaning they were going to go on to do great things. There are those certain people. Those are what God's talking about. And there, it's like usually in like Psalms or Proverbs, David is talking about it, praising God, how, you formed me, you weaved me in my mother's womb, and and then of course, the modern day, you get everybody that runs with that and thinks that that's when God believed life began. No, he was consecrating those certain people because they were going to go on to do great things. And King David was one of those people. Jeremiah was another one. It didn't mean that he knew that with everybody. I mean, I'm sure he did, but again, he said when life began. But he knew that nothing would happen to them because he was consecrating them, basically crowning them to go on to do good things. That's what Donald Trump is saying here. It is. Nobody has to believe that, but that's why they want you to focus on Charlie Kirk. They want you to focus on anything but Donald Trump. That's why they didn't want to talk about the miracle of now you have a bunch of people running around saying, oh, it was all staged. I don't think Donald Trump would do that to the American people. He wouldn't do that. Because he's somebody that he likes to win, but not by cheating, not by, tricking people and committing trauma like that. He wouldn't do that. There's a whole bunch of crazy occultists in our country and in the world that would do it, but no, they want to get you directed on anybody else. I mean, to the point that they'll, kill Kirk or who knows, just to not get you to focus there, which I think is that God wants you to focus on him. I mean, so that it brings you to God. Like, look at what I'm doing here. Again, it's in the double digits, the amount of times they've tried to kill him. They can't, I said they can't touch him. So God, that's likely why the McLeods have this history of being immortal. Have these movies about the Highlander clan and, or the Highlanders being the McLeod clan, and they're immortal. There's certain ones of them that go on to, because Scotland at one time in the Bible was Caledonia. Yeah. So, there's that. And then on the Isle of Man, there were giants. Now, of course, in the biblical account, okay, this did not take place in the Isle of Man, because the Isle of Man is, it's like, is it in between Scotland and Ireland? The way it was built, this is how I'll show a closer up picture of this, but this is in an island of the Inner Hebrides, Scottish island with ancient ritual significant and home to Fingal's Cave. So this was done, these blocks, and they go for so long. They say it was giants that did it. Really. Now they say it's folklore, but then, there were the giants in the Bible, like I just showed, David and Goliath. this, the history around this is that, so where this is it's Staffa, is an island of the Inner Hebrides off the west coast of Scotland, now uninhabited. There is evidence that humans inhabited the island as long as 3,800 years ago. Some years ago, archaeologists working with the National Trust for Scotland discovered evidence for human activity during the Bronze Age. Although the island is small, 1 kilometer long by just over 984 feet at its widest point, the idea that it held ritual significance is bolstered by its extraordinary appearance with the set of pillars created. It says 60 million years ago. I don't believe the earth has been here millions of years. I just always say that, but that's what it's, because that just again, remember, the wicked one rules the world, okay? Just keep that. That's why it just doesn't add up. They were formed, because in this case, this wasn't formed by this was done by giants. Because it says here that a clear example of this is Fingal's Cave on Staffa. This is Kim Fingal's Cave, is formed completely from a hexagon columns shaped in neat 6-sided pillars that make up its interior walls. Too many in the ancient past, and even now, it looks to have been built by hand and not a product of nature. Its length varies from 69 meters and 270 feet. The arched roof is said to reach between 66 feet and 72 feet above sea level. It's about 40 feet wide. As both the giant causeway and Fingal's Cave are made of the same basalt columns, legend holds that they were the end pieces of a huge road built by the Irish giant Fionn MacCumhel. I'll just say Fionn. Fionn is a figure that also features in mythologies of Scotland and Isle of Man. He appears in a number of different forms, and many geographical features in Ireland and beyond are attributed to Fionn. One of the legends involving Fionn is him as a giant. It was said that he built this causeway as a stepping stone to reach Scotland in his conflict with the Scottish giant Benidorm, his gigantic rival. This remarkable geographical feature is not the only result of the conflict between these two. Legend also has it that Fionn once scooped up a clump of Irish land and threw it towards its Scottish rival. The clump missed and landed in the middle of the Irish Sea. That clump of land became another Celtic nation, the Isle of Man. The area in Ireland from which the clump of land was taken became, it was called the Loch Ness. So then when you consider the biblical history of David and Goliath, and that Scotland was Caledon, it just confirms the Bible more and more, doesn't it? All of it. And then there's the amazing story of Arthur Kelly, the Manx giant, star of the greatest show on earth, the tallest man in the world, so that was part of this too, because it said that there's also stories about Manannán, a sea god and powerful figure in Manx mythology associated with the island's origin and protection. Archaeology, there are sites like Cloven Stones and King Orre's grave, which are tied to legends of giants, which reports from the 19th century of finding large human bones. Okay, so the Bible has now been confirmed.